I'm seeing that there often is a great deal of confusion between Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Veterans Day. One of the confusions comes from which comes when. Is it Memorial Day or is it Labor Day? That's the unofficial start of summer. The other confusion is about which commemorates what. Labor Day has absolutely nothing to do with the military at all. Veterans Day is in November, and it's a day that remembers all those who have served in the armed forces, both living and departed. Memorial Day, tomorrow, is the occasion where we remember those who have served who are no longer with us, especially those who have lost their lives in combat. Some form of Memorial Day started in the aftermath of the Civil War. The armies of the North and the South, or shall we say the remnants of those armies, had a day, and they were separate occasions where they remembered those who had served. It was known as Decoration Day, but it wasn't until 1966 when the U.S. Congress decided officially that Memorial Day would become a federal holiday to be remembered on the last Monday in May every single year. They also put legislation in place that looked back and said that the first Memorial Day was celebrated 100 years earlier in Waterloo, New York. For me personally, Memorial Day since 2007 has taken on added significance. Every year when Memorial Day comes around, I remember a young soldier named Matthew Bayless. In 2001, right before the events of September 11th, I laid my hand on the head of a 14-year-old Matthew Bayless as I confirmed him into the faith. After the events of September 11th, he had a deep admiration for those who served in the armed forces. And so upon his graduation from high school, he signed up for the Army. It wasn't long after that Matt found himself serving in Iraq as a gunner. Right before Memorial Day in 2007, I stood over Matthew's grave in Calverton National Cemetery. A few days before his 21st birthday, he lost his life as a hero in Iraq as he was laying down cover fire for his fellow brothers in arms who were retreating because they were under heavy enemy fire. In the aftermath of that event, I watched as his family, especially his father, went through that deep struggle, that great pain, and the father especially experienced great guilt over encouraging his son and supporting his decision to serve, and he couldn't quite make sense of the whole war in Iraq and everything that surrounded it. So Memorial Day isn't merely just the start of summer or a day to pull out the barbecue or a trip to the beach to watch the air show. There are some, and I know there are some of you here today, where Memorial Day is a painful day, a day where all of us should take the moment to pause and remember that the blessings and the gifts that we have in life have come at a price, often a very heavy price. And this gospel lesson for this second Sunday after Pentecost is another one of those incredibly powerful divine coincidences where the church's calendar and appointed readings for the day beautifully intersect with our secular calendar. The reading appointed for today is this soldier's story on Memorial Day weekend. We hear the story of this Roman centurion who's concerned about the health and the well-being of his slave. So he sends for Jesus. Now, a centurion wasn't just any soldier. He was in charge and in command of 100 soldiers, hence the name centurion. So this was a man of great power, of great authority, and he could make powerful decisions to imprison people, to take their lives, whatever was necessary to serve the government of Rome. And there are so many things in this reading that we can take away that say a lot to us about power and authority and the government as we live as God's people. First, it's interesting to note that in hearing the soldier's request to heal his slave, Jesus doesn't make any sort of political statements about his position in the Roman government as a soldier, as a commander. No, Jesus just focuses on the task at hand. We also hear from the text that this soldier, with all the power and the authority that he had, he exercised it in a responsible and in a powerful way. He had the respect of the community around him, And he especially had the respect of the Jewish authorities and the Jewish leaders. And this in itself is astounding, because the Romans and the Jews were oftentimes, more often than not, on opposite sides of issues and had deep animosity towards each other. Yet we hear in the text that even those Jewish leaders fight on the soldiers' behalf to have Jesus grant this request. That's how respected he was among the community. But it's in the healing of the slave that we learn the most from the gospel lesson for today. For that Roman soldier, with all that decision-making authority and power that he had, understood his proper place in the world and in relationship with God. That Roman soldier has great humility as he approaches Jesus. And he understands that true healing can't be found in all the strength and the might that he had or the Roman government has. And it's the faith of that Roman soldier that breaks down boundaries and brings healing for his servant. It's often said that the best and most effective sermons that are preached by a pastor are those sermons that begin when the pastor preaches to him or herself first. This is one of those days for me. This gospel lesson serves as a powerful reminder for me personally, because I find myself, as we live in this culture that surrounds us today, where there's a constant abuse by those in authority, where there's all sorts of incidences with those who are in positions of service and law enforcement, when there are all these seemingly unjust things that surround us and take place, I find myself often filled with animosity towards government and authority and the things that surround us. And there are times where I wish that Jesus wouldn't be so neutral in the readings that he brings to us. As I hear this gospel lesson today, I might write it much differently. There's a temptation in my heart to say, wouldn't it be nice if Jesus had not granted the request of the soldier? If Jesus had made a statement by saying, no, because you're in that position serving that government, I'm not going to grant that request. Maybe Jesus could have put the soldier and the Roman government in their proper place. And that's exactly what he did. Jesus doesn't get caught up in the politics of the situation. Doesn't make any commentary on exactly what's going on. But he focuses on the only thing that matters: the faith of the soldier. And it's that faith of the soldier, and it's our faith, that makes the greatest difference in the world around us. And this is an important lesson for us as we live in political times that seem like no other, and as we observe Memorial Day again. Memorial Day is not a day where we discuss or talk about or debate the justice or the righteousness of the wars that have been fought. Memorial Day is a day where we look for the gift of faith that brings hope and healing in the time of loss. Oftentimes, as we prepare to come up here to receive the resurrected presence of Jesus in the sacrament of the altar, we say, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but say the word, and my soul shall be healed. Now we know where those words come from. They come from this Roman soldier, this one who had so much power and authority, yet humbled himself and recognized his need for that true power and healing authority that came from God to get what he needed for his servant, for his slave, somebody he shouldn't even have cared for. The soldier's prayer is our prayer. We do not deserve to have God come under our roof, but as he comes to us with his word, as he brings us his presence in the sacraments, he shows us that true healing. Amen.